The fourth generation of the VW Transporter/Caravella/Multivan T4 models is notable primarily for its radically new design. The creators have moved away from the rear-engine layout and rear-wheel drive transmission used for 40 years, since the appearance of the first Transporter Boxer power units. Models of the T4 series have a half-width layout and front axle drive. They are equipped with inline engines located longitudinally in the engine compartment. This generation of minibuses was so popular with buyers that it sold 10 million copies. To begin with, it is important to note the difference between the three modifications of the T4. Transpo Rover 75, Pure Art. Talk about the kinship of the Rover 75 with BMW is well founded. The model was created with the participation of BMW, which, owning the British brand at that time, 1994 to 2000, spent £700 million on the development of this model. But structurally, the cars do not repeat each other, except for Rover with German diesel engines and the similarity of the rear suspension with the E46 Troika. Another legacy of the Germans is the high build quality achieved at factories in Oxford and Birmingham. Both used in new cars came to Ukraine, in particular, from Russia. Since 2002, they have been officially supplied there, and in the northern configuration, with seat heating, headlight washers, double-door seals and fender liner. Part of the new cars produced in 1999 came to the CIS through unofficial channels already in 2001. These are cars without mileage, selected from stock warehouses in Europe. 75th received an original, rigid and durable body, well resistant to corrosion even without galvanization. Its interior is striking in style. Many versions are trimmed with light leather, which goes well with wooden inserts. For better sound insulation, glass is 1.5 times thicker than usual. However, due to the massive seats, the interior is not very spacious, and the view is limited to the A-pillars and a high trunk. As a rule, cars found in Ukraine are richly equipped, 4 to 6 airbags, ABS, traction control, 2 or 4 power windows, parking sensors, cabin filter. There are cars with a multifunction screen and standard navigation, and there are cars without air conditioning. These are specimens imported from Finland. Of the equipment, only the door lock drive, which is controlled by the electronic unit, can fail. The lock is not being repaired and must be replaced, 770 UAH. All Rover 75 petrol engines are English, while the inline 2.0-liter diesel, on the contrary, is German, known as the M47R. Of the entire range of power units on our roads, 2.0 and 2.5-liter V-shaped 6s, 24V, 150 horsepower and 24V, 177 horsepower, are more common. The inline engine with a volume of 1.8 liters, 16V, 120 horsepower, is rather weak for this large car, and it is less common, but the presence in Ukraine of a turbocharged version of 1.8 liters, 16V, 150 horsepower, is not known even to specialists of corporate service. Very rare in diesel equipment. The most experienced of the Rover 75 did not run even 200,000 kilometers. They are far from overhaul. But many of them have been in serious repair due to overheating. This unpleasant feature of all Rover 75 gasoline engines is explained by the short-lived electric drive of the radiator blower system. Its sophisticated fan fails every 3 to 4 years, and inattentive drivers overheat the motor. This node costs 3,200 UAH. It is not cheap and it costs 400 UAH to replace it. Another weak point is the plastic camshaft plugs. When using too viscous oil in winter, they may be squeezed out, as a result of which the pressure in the lubrication system drops and the engine that has not been stopped in time fails. V6 engines are distinguished by a complex electronic control system, which, among other things, is responsible for engine cooling. The system is inertial and the control device responds to temperature changes with a delay. This can cause the engine to overheat. Therefore, experts recommend checking the level of antifreeze once a week. The timing of gasoline engines is driven by belts, which are replaced every 80,000 kilometers along with rollers. The gasoline filter is replaced after 100,000 kilometers. By 170 to 180,000 kilometers the fuel pump fails. Candles are used only with platinum coating. The manufacturer gives them 100,000 kilometers of life. In domestic conditions, they serve up to 70,000 kilometers. Repair and maintenance of Rover power units is recommended to be carried out at branded service stations, which are few in Ukraine. After all, these cars have many features. In addition, they need the so-called dealer tester, T4. The Rover 75 is front-wheel drive. It was equipped with both a 5-speed manual gearbox of English production and a 5-speed adaptive Japanese automatic Jatco. And if the mechanics works well, then automatic transmissions until 2001 onwards. Had trouble shifting into reverse gear. After modernization, automatic transmissions began to serve up to 200,000 kilometers, but only if they were filled with special oil, which is distributed through branded service stations. Repair of automatic transmission pulls for 4,000 UAH, not counting spare parts. A new one costs UAH 18,287. A restored one costs UAH 17,000. Clutch repair is expensive, which is required by 100,000 kilometers, work 1650 UAH. When replacing the disc and basket, it is necessary to change the hydraulic drive cylinders, the main one, 1973 UAH, and the working one, 1375 UAH, made together with the release bearing. The running gear of this model combines high smoothness of the course and comfort on roughnesses with excellent tenacity in turns. Both suspensions are mounted on subframes, front, McPherson type, rear, independent, with 3 long levers for each wheel. It is in the length of the levers that it differs from the Troika of BMW. The chassis requires the attention of mechanics every 50 to 70,000 kilometers. At this figure, stabilizer struts and bushings, front shock absorbers and front levers are usually replaced, in which the only silent block and non-removable ball bearings wear out. Closer to 80,000 kilometers, you can expect a dull ringing when turning the steering wheel. This is a signal to replace the strut support bearing, due to jamming of which the suspension spring cannot be ruled out, which can lead to an accident. Silent blocks of the rear suspension serve up to 120,000 kilometers, shock absorbers, up to 80,000 kilometers. The steering wheel of the Rover 75 is light, but with good feedback. After every 50 to 70,000 kilometers, you can expect problems from the steering. By this time, the tie rod ends usually wear out. It is prescribed to change the drive belt of attachments for 80,000, preferably together with the rollers. The power steering pump serves up to 150,000 kilometers, after which it is replaced with a new one. The same picture with the rack and pinion steering mechanism, a resource of 150,000 kilometers and officially recognized unsuitability for repair. An effective brake system with 4 discs does not cause a headache if you change the pads in time. The front pads after 20 to 30,000 kilometers, the rear pads after 70,000 kilometers. Rover 75 electrical equipment is reliable largely due to the fact that all critical wiring contacts are covered with precious metal. The weak point is the airbag sensors under the front seats. If the seats are often moved, the tightness of the wiring connection is broken, and the airbag warning lamp lights up on the dashboard. Contacts need to buy new ones. The generator and starter work without problems up to 150 to 200,000 kilometers, after which they are subject to resuscitation. Show business functionaries, well-known journalists, representatives of the creative elite and businessmen who pay great attention to their image drive this car. Buying a Rover 75 is one of the ways to join the circle of the elite. But keep in mind, to drive such a car, it is not enough to be known as an aesthete and original. You need to earn good money. Router is a cargo or cargo passenger version of a minibus. The latter differs from trucks by glazing around the perimeter of the body, the absence of a partition separating the cab and the cargo compartment, the presence of 2 separately adjustable stoves, inexpensive plastic lining in the rear of the cabin and 1 or 2 rows of seats located there. All of them are removable and, if necessary, can be easily dismantled from the passenger compartment or rotated against the direction of travel. In the cab, the passenger seat can be single or double. Caravella is exclusively a passenger model. It has all the options necessary for comfort, noise and vibration isolation, high quality combined, plastic and Bel Air, trim of the entire cabin with built-in ashtrays, pockets, and acoustics. For the passenger part of the cabin, a separate air conditioning system with its own airflow deflectors is provided. The seats here are equipped with armrests, there are airbags, central locking, power windows and exterior mirrors, there may be a sunroof, etc. Transporter and Caravella come with the standard, car height 1940 mm, or high, 2,430 mm, roof, as well as with the standard, 2,920 mm, or long, 3,320 mm, wheelbase. Most often, the back door in them is solid and lifting. Less common are 2 separate hinged doors. In 1996, the most expensive modification of the T4 appeared, Multivan, which is positioned as a multifunctional prestigious car for business trips and long family trips. Multivan has only a standard wheelbase. It is equipped with only the most powerful engines. The luxuriously finished interior of this model allows for many transformations, and the list of basic equipment is much wider than in Caravella. Today, many transporters are operated in Ukraine, converted from cargo versions. The fact is that customs clearance of trucks is cheaper than passenger modifications, and their price is initially lower, especially compared to Caravella/Multivan. In our country, the largest firms professionally engaged in the re-equipment of cargo vans are located in Vinnytsia, Berdichev, and Biela Tserkva. They offer various re-equipment options, starting with covering the cargo part of the cabin with inexpensive upholstery and installing seats from dismantled foreign cars and ending with the serious stuffing of the car using original Caravella/Multivan interior parts. Everything is done at the request of a particular customer. It is only important that all alterations be officially certified. The evidence is a supporting document issued by the NITSBDD of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine or Gosavtotranszennyi Proект, otherwise such handicraft may turn out to be unsafe during operation. You can determine what the car was originally by the VIN number of the body, where all the necessary information is sewn up. You can get it at the dealer's service station. All T4 modifications are perfectly protected from corrosion. The panels of the load-bearing body are galvanized, and the internal cavities are filled with hot wax. Rust can only be found on older machines that have mechanically damaged zinc coating. As a rule, traces of corrosion should be looked for on the front wheel arches, sills, between the second and third windows on the starboard side. Also on the old T4, where the roller-type hinges on the side sliding door was noted, which makes it difficult to close it, and it knocks on bumps. Specialists of the branded service station warn that the hinges cannot be lubricated, as dirt accumulates in the mechanism, accelerating the wear of the rollers. In Ukraine, you can find T4 with any power unit designed for this model, but more economical diesel versions are most often found. The most successful engine is considered to be a 2.5-liter TDI, which, depending on the boost pressure and the presence of an intercooler, can produce 88, 102 or 150 horsepower. The last option was for the Multivan only. This motor provides better dynamics than other diesels, and is less sensitive to the quality of diesel fuel. In aspirated, it is necessary to repair the cylinder heads more often, because due to the increased rigidity of the work that occurs when using low-quality fuel, the pre-chambers fail. If you still decide to purchase a unit that is not equipped with a turbine, then it is preferable to opt for the 2.4-liter version. The mediocre dynamic capabilities of the 1.9-liter engine will suit few drivers. In all diesel engines, the failure of oil level sensors was noted. True, if used incorrectly, TDIs, 1.9 liters and 2.5 liters, can create serious problems. So, due to untimely replacement or installation of a low-quality air filter, the airflow meter may fail. A unit restored at the factory will cost $160. Moreover, this can lead to the death of an expensive turbine. There is also a failure of the coolant temperature sensors. Then the car won't start. Although the reason may be the breakdown of glow plugs, which on average serve about 150,000 kilometers, typical for all diesel engines. The maintenance of the gas distribution mechanism of all diesel engines consists in the regular, every 100,000 kilometers, replacement of the timing belts and the drive of the high-pressure fuel pump, TNVD, as well as the tension rollers. Experts recommend installing a new water pump, which is driven by the timing belt. Motorists advise using only branded belts, as they have examples when the non-original was already torn after 50,000 kilometers run. By the way, it is advisable to change the timing belt on turbo diesels only at a branded or specialized service station, since when replacing it is still necessary to set the fuel injection advance angle. Otherwise, the motor will not develop full power. This can only be done with the help of special diagnostic equipment. Gasoline engines can also experience problems with their mass meters and temperature sensors over time. If the engine stalls or pulls poorly, you should check the ignition coil. According to service workers, it serves 2 to 3 years, and then fails. Inline-shifted 6-cylinder VR6 units are found only on the Multivan. They are the most expensive to run. Firstly, these engines consume 15 to 16 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers in the urban cycle, and secondly, spare parts for them cost almost twice as much as for other units. The timing of gasoline engines is also driven by a belt, which changes along with the rollers after 100,000 kilometers, original parts. The exception is the petrol VR6, where a durable metal chain is used. Models manufactured before 1996 have a break in the accelerator cable. As a rule, most T4s are equipped with 5-speed manual gearboxes. 4-speed automatic transmissions are rare and were reserved for the Caravella and Multivan only. Experts note that the automatic has proven to be unreliable, and when buying a used car, it is better to abandon versions equipped with automatic transmissions. True, mechanics can also create problems. In it, over time, the plastic bushings of the gearshift stage require replacement. In addition, breakdowns of the fifth gear were observed. On the secondary shaft it cuts off its gear, and then the bearings of this shaft fly out. Usually this happens during improper operation, when, without turning the motor on the fourth gear, they turn on the fifth, overloading it accordingly. For gearboxes equipped with an intermediate suspension support of the right axle shaft, its oil seal leaks. This indicates the failure of the support, due to which the stuffing box then becomes unusable. According to factory recommendations, the lubricant in the T4 mechanics is designed for the entire service life, but for trouble-free operation it can be changed every 60,000 kilometers. Since 1998, a dual-mass flywheel has been installed on versions with 2.4-liter and 2.5-liter engines. It serves for a long time, but when it breaks, you have to fork out. It costs about $800. The vast majority of minibuses operating in Ukraine have front-axle drive, although sometimes there are all-wheel drive synchro modifications. Their transmission is equipped with a viscous coupling, which, when the front wheels slip, redistributes the moment to the rear ones. On older machines, the outboard bearing of the propeller shaft has failed, which is manifested by a hum during movement. Separately, the part is not offered, only together with the shaft. Although a worn bearing can be replaced in domestic specialized centers engaged in the repair of cart-end shafts. Untimely elimination of the malfunction leads to loss of tightness of the oil seal of the rear gearbox shank. All modifications of the T4 are distinguished by a small ground clearance of 150 mm. In addition, the large wheelbase somewhat limits the geometric cross-country ability, especially for long versions. All T4s, even truck modifications, have independent front and even rear suspensions. This design provides the minibuses with decent stability and informative steering, good handling, which is confirmed by many T4 owners. In front, the role of elastic elements is performed by torsion bars, and at the back, by springs. Each of the axles is equipped with a stabilizer bar. Depending on the purpose of the minibus, suspensions were installed, cargo, passenger, or passenger, differing accordingly in their rigidity. Chassis even on our roads has proven to be quite reliable. Ahead, most often, after 30 to 40,000 kilometers, only the stabilizer bushings will have to be changed. The rest of the consumables change separately from each other. Ball bearings, after 50,000 kilometers, silent blocks of the lower levers, 60 to 80,000 kilometers, and the upper ones are generally considered indestructible. In the rear suspension, after 50 to 60,000 kilometers, you will have to change the stabilizer bushings, and the gum of the levers will drive longer. With frequent overloads, the springs do not withstand and burst. The steering on most versions is equipped with power steering. It may not be available only on trucks of the first years of production. On older cars, the rail seals often lose their tightness and the bushing fails. Fortunately, the rail is reparable. Tie rods go, 60 to 70,000 kilometers. On fairly traveled diesel versions with a volume of 2.4 liters and 2.5 liters, a failure of the vacuum pump of the brake booster was noted, which manifests itself in a characteristic knock when the engine is running. Experts believe that it is not necessary to immediately change the pump. It can still serve if the pump plunger is turned 180 degrees. VW Transporter / Caravella / Multivan, T4, are excellent all-round vehicles. Thanks to their good maneuverability and handling, they are almost as comfortable to ride as a regular passenger car. When buying, you should be careful. As a rule, minibuses are purchased for active driving, therefore, during operation, most T4s roll a considerable mileage, which accordingly affects the residual resource of components and assemblies. And if you don't want to buy a vacuum cleaner that actively sucks out the contents of your wallet to restore failed parts, when choosing, pay attention to cars of more fresh years of release. And most importantly, before buying, conduct a qualified diagnosis of the selected instance.